When he returned from Pakistan, he underwent some kind of secondary screening after his last trip, and that contributed in some way to his arrest. Why was he screened when he came back, and what was learned?
Without getting into a lot of detail, he was screened when he came back because some of the targeting rules applied. He was subjected to secondary screening. He is a naturalized U.S. citizen, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
You've given us a diagram of the bomb itself. Looking at this, what is your professional assessment? Is this an example of somebody who's had bomb-making training, or is this kind of winging it?
There are a number of opinions on that. You've heard most of them, I think. It does not appear, from our opinion, to be the most sophisticated device. There are a number of opportunities for the device to fail. There are actually 3 different components that could have been operational, but as was noted, certain portions such as the M88s ignited, but not the main charges of either the gasoline or the propane tank. So
is that more aspirational than operational, as someone once said?
Well, he clearly had the intent to do harm. It's a question of whether his training and knowledge and the material that he had, to the point of the fertilizer, the initial assessment is that it was probably not a sufficient grade to cause the type of explosion such as we saw, obviously, the ammonium nitrate and fuel oil at Oklahoma City. So clearly not that content.
How long was he questioned under the public safety exception to Miranda? And if maybe the Attorney General or somebody can walk us through the decision to terminate that, and who made that decision and why?
From the FBI perspective, we won't go into detail in terms of how long. That's obviously a significant issue right now. Suffice to say that he provided valuable information and intelligence and evidence during that time. And then, as the Attorney General noted, he was Mirandized later and continued to cooperate and provide valuable information.
Attorney General, how close were you to losing him last night?
Well, I think obviously there's high confidence in CBP and their ability to do the job. They went beyond what I think most people would expect in terms of just checking. Is that what you were asking?
How close were you to losing him? And I think you mentioned earlier that you had identified him by Saturday night. Is that correct? That early?
No. Sunday night.
Sunday.
Attorney General Holder.
Well, could you answer the question about how close you were to losing him?
I'm not sure to what you're referring.
How close were you to losing him when he was on that flight?
No,
Once he was, they pulled him off. They pulled the flight back, as you know, to the gate. They also had the authority, if the flight had actually taken off, to order the plane to turn around and come back.
Attorney General,
I was here all yesterday and through much of last night, and was aware of the tracking that was going on, and I was never in any fear that we were in danger of losing him.
could you tell us whether or not New York is still under consideration for holding the KSM and other terror trials? And if so, does this incident give you pause in that respect?
Well, I think, unfortunately, New York and Washington, D.C. remain targets of people who would do this nation harm. And regardless of where a particular trial is, where a particular event is going to occur, I think that is going to remain true, and is why we have to be especially vigilant in New York as well as in Washington. We are considering a number of options with regard to where that trial might be held, and I'll leave it at that.
But New York is still among those that you're considering.
I've indicated that before, yep.
Commissioner Kelly, could you address whether this incident highlights any additional vulnerabilities in Midtown? Should there be more cameras? Should there be additional resources put towards that?
Well, we had a lot of police officers and have today certainly on patrol in Times Square. This individual drove his vehicle up very quickly and left very quickly, but police officers were right immediately on the scene there. So, to that extent, we were present. Would we like more cameras there? Yes. As a matter of fact, we have a program that, we hope to have funded where we will take our Low Manhattan Security Initiative, which consists of about 3,000 cameras, public and private sector cameras, and migrate that program up to Midtown Manhattan from 30th Street to 60th Street. So that's our our goal. We have plans to do that, but sure, we'd like more cameras.
Mr. Kelly, are you giving any more credibility to the claims of responsibility by the Taliban?
Well, I would refer that to other people in the panel here.
Commissioner Kelly and Attorney General, tempo. Are we in a heightened state now? We had the underwear bomber case, we had the Zazi case targeting the subway system, and for 8 years it didn't seem like we had this pacing of terrorist attempts that were in sort of the final stages. Is it your sense that we're
In New York City, we have had now 11 plots directed at the city since September 11th. So we always see ourselves in a fairly high pace. To a certain extent, nothing has changed in that regard of people coming to New York or planning to come to New York and trying to hurt us, trying to kill New Yorkers.
Commissioner Kelly, can you talk about the cooperation between the FBI and the New York State Police Department on this issue?
It's seamless. We had, people ask that question a lot, and the answer is the same, and it's true. We're working extremely well together.
Mr. Attorney General, you referred to this as a terrorist plot. Can you give us any idea of whether we're talking about 3 people or more, or, for example, an internationally known terrorist group being part of this?
At this point, I think I'm going to say no more than what I have said in that regard. Okay, thank you all very much.
An interesting news conference there.